Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do a commodity update, do a technical analysis. We'll look at all the commodities. I'll give you my financial opinion, and we'll go through step by step. I see some sectors did very well today, mainly energy sectors, and we'll step through all of them right now. So let's dive right in. So we've got the DXY. This is a driver. It is lowered, a little bit lower on the DXY. The 10-year yield, it's higher today, 1.33%. This generally follows energy prices, generally speaking. Now, did the 10-year yield fall because we're releasing strategic petroleum reserves? Are they in there buying stuff? Difficult to say. We know it's being manipulated. We know there's, quote, fragmentation in the markets is what they call it, AKA they need to buy bonds because interest rates are getting too high. That's what fragmentation means. And we had a small decline here the past 2 trading days. It was up today. But this is going to be one that I'm watching, the 10-year yield, to see what the heck is going on here. Are we going to go lower? If it's lower, then a potential recession could be coming. If it goes on higher, which is the way that I'm favoring it, because I think oil cannot be manipulated much lower for much longer. Maybe they got 6 months left in it. Maybe they got 4 months, something on the lines of that. But I don't think inflation will stay down if oil and natural gas prices in America go up. So I think that inflation will still be in the system. I think it will be recognized with higher energy prices and higher consumer price index numbers as energy goes up. And I don't know how they're going to necessarily hide that. Looking at the commodity index, this looks good. We've got a broken downtrend here on the short term, and we're starting to get some traction to the upside. It is, I'm sure, heavily weighted towards energy. And I know food's been getting a little bit of a bounce too, and we can look at all that. But that looks pretty good in terms of breaking the downtrend and getting a little bit more buying pressure throughout this trading session. So that looks good. Gold down a little bit today. Same with silver. They were both down some, but I guess the JP Morgan crew forgot to bring the price of platinum down. It wasn't in their memo to bring this one down, so it's going on up. This is the cheapest metal. This is the one that I own, or at least I have been buying recently. Has been platinum all throughout this general area in here. I was even buying it in the mid 900s all the way down and cost averaging in. I do think silver is also a very good bet, but with the recessionary fears out there, and I don't necessarily know where it's all grounded. I know there's a lot of people that are afraid about a recession. They're fearing one. It's going to impact silver immensely. But money will rotate. It's going to have to rotate and solve our energy problems, and obviously other portions of the economy will be impacted in a negative fashion. A lot of the companies themselves getting sold off today. I saw Newmont getting ripped a new one. That was one. I've always had fears of the mining companies that if energy were to go up dramatically, how the mining companies' costs would do. I'm in the camp that the mining companies and their costs would increase. But I also think it's a little bit weird that we have gold and silver going down or lower. That I would not have guessed. So I was in the camp of gold, silver, and platinum all doing very well in this inflationary environment, and with the mining companies kind of lagging. That could be a potential if we got into a very short energy type squeeze. But they're still holding up okay, at least SILJ is. It's right on support. We'll see if we can get a bounce and break out of this downward trend. And again, guys, I mean, if energy gets scarce enough, people are going to cut a lot of unnecessary things out of their life. And it's not going to be good for business. Use Germany as an example, and we'll see what happens this winter. But in terms of gold and silver, that's more of a currency crisis problem. I think physical gold and silver and platinum, they're all very low risk plays. The mining companies, they're starting to pile on a lot of risk. Cost curves could go up, and replenishing their mines is going to be difficult because they're going to have to go to more difficult areas across the world. Crude oil. And this guy it's strong today. It hasn't broken out of its downtrend yet. The positive thing is we have a nice big bullish engulfing. We've got a couple of smaller days within this day here, and now we've got a good hammer pattern looking like it's going to try to break to the upside. We'll see if it breaks out of this descending channel, and if we get some traction here. It looks good to me, but again, the markets have humbled me many times, and the short-term price movements have always been the most difficult to get. But what I'll say is, we've got the large down days through here, and what's changed is they've gotten a lot smaller on the right-hand side here. What that means is that the selling pressure is subsiding. The buyers are coming in. Now it's going to be a battle between the buyers and sellers right at this point, right here. We also made a low, and we're starting to make a higher low. So if this thing holds, maybe we get traction to go higher. But that's what we're seeing. We'll see what the markets bring tomorrow. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Natural gas just killing it. Natural gas doing very well, up 6%. I thought we were in this huge recession. What's going on here? Why is crude and natural gas acting like they're going to try to break to the upside? Maybe because the recession is being caused by energy prices. Again, I'm still in the camp that we have an energy crisis and that money will rotate to energy. It has to solve the crisis. Energy is the Achilles heel of an economy. You take energy out, the economy gets hit badly. And energy prices are still impacting the consumer price index numbers. This is stagflation. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. This is what it is until our energy problems are solved. If these stick around long enough, I think you'll see the precious metals do some crazy stuff. We're not there yet, obviously. And one thing that gets me a little bit concerned, not with energy, but with precious metals, is we're seeing the paper prices go down, but the premiums go up. The physical metal isn't dropping in price. There's a disconnect there. And I'm curious to see how that's going to resolve itself, or if it will ever resolve itself. And a lot of the mining companies get traded off the paper price. Just an FYI. So XOP, yeah, you know me, doing very well today. Nice strong finish too, up 5.5% roughly. And that's doing quite well. Are we going to continue higher? I think a lot depends on how oil does. If oil breaks out of that downward channel and starts getting a kick to the pants from the buyers and gets a nice big fat candlestick to the upside, yeah, I think we've got some room to run to the upside. If it fails to break out of the channel, we'll have to see how this all reacts. But it's good to see that oil and the companies themselves are strong, because that's signaling that people believe in the move. So that's good there. Energy service companies also moving up strongly. I like it down here, guys. I like it a lot. The service companies are cheap. They haven't had the huge runs like some of the exploration production companies. They are a very good value right now. I did this on Logarithmic last time I did it. It bounced its head off this resistance line, fell on back to another support line, and then I think we will see what it's got, which is coming up right here on to the upside. We'll see how far it can run if oil breaks out here. Uranium, uranium also doing quite well. The futures pricing is still lagging. It's still being one of them laggards. Are we going to come back and head a little bit lower here? It's a possibility where you kind of come in, you sit, and then you come back, and then we roll. So I'm not saying that the moon is right in front of us, the mooning thing, but it could be. And that's why I don't trade in and out of these things. URNM, it is heading higher. It does look good. We pulled on back. We got a nice little hammer pattern today. It finished strong to the upside. If you look at a 5-day, basically what we're seeing is a broken downtrend line, and it's broken and it's ready to head higher. That's what it looks like on the short term. So it looks really good from a charting perspective on many fronts. We've broken this downtrend in the short term. We've broken this downtrend in the short term. And on the long term, we are still very cheap. So what that usually means to me is a buying opportunity, because you've broken the downtrend lines in the short term. You've got the kind of backtest, retest towards the support line, and it's low off of its highs, compared to its all-time highs. So I think this looks very good to be looking at this time. Looking at Camco, just to show you another company, that one's also putting in a hammer pattern. It's lower on its long-term support. So that one looks good. And then a lot of these companies are starting to break their downtrend lines to the upside, like Bannerman and Global Atomic and Goviax and on and on and on. And some of them are putting up some pretty good numbers. And if you guys are interested in some of the companies that I like, definitely check out the website below, the Platinum membership. We just talked about a whole bunch of companies in the question and answer session. And there's a lot of really good information in this past session that's videotaped and up on the website. Looking at COPX, again, we're just chopping sideways here. It was up a little bit today. Some of the diversified miners looked pretty good, and they went higher. So we got to see what happens here. Copper is an important, it's very important that copper does well, because it's an indication of the health of the economy. Right now, people think it's in the tubes. We're going to recession. Write it all off. We're going to go into the deepest depression that we've ever seen. I'm not in that camp. I'm not that far in that camp. I still think that we are on solid ground, but it is weakening at some point. So that's copper there. Platinum outperforming the other metals. That looks really good. I'm just cruising down the ratios here real quick. Rare earth metals, it's right at support. It's broken out of this descending wedge. That looks really good. That looks good to go higher. Lithium. Lithium is trying to break its downtrend line. It hasn't done it yet, but that also looks like it wants to take a run at it. And hopefully we can take a run through it and break through it here shortly. Looking at the S&P 500, we've just got sideways motion. We're above support. Everything looks okay at this time. And then the NASDAQ, or the US composite, broken down trend. We've got basically a retest here on this breakout there. And then I think we'll probably move higher. There's a lot of money in the system. Who knows? Maybe the Federal Reserve's buying this stuff. I don't know. But it's looking a lot better from a charting perspective. XHB heading a little bit lower, but it's still broken the downtrend. Everything looks intact. Still looks good. We do have a lot of resistance in this general vicinity. All that trading. So it's got to break back up through that area. Lumber heading a little bit lower today. Still looks okay. We've got bigger buying pressure on this side, smaller selling pressure on that side. That usually resolves itself in an upward fashion. You usually see this type of pattern, this whole thing, before a move higher. I see it all the time. So that looks good. We're starting to see the soft commodities like cocoa futures head higher. We're seeing wheat get a little bit of a kick today. Still in a downtrend, but it's starting to turn around a little bit. Same with soybeans, still in a downtrend, but it's starting to show some life at least. And then corn in the same situation, still in a downtrend, but it's showing a little bit of life today. And then copper, again, I wouldn't be jumping on this train yet. It does look like we have one last maybe downward move. Whenever this goes up like this, I usually see a move lower right after for a short period of time. It's not a very big pattern, but it does usually work its way down just a little bit more. Looking at MOO, which is an agribusiness ETF, this looks pretty strong here. Nice strong closing today. Looks great. And a lot of the fertilizer companies doing very well. Aluminum heading a little bit lower today. Heading a little bit lower. Still, it's right above support. This looks good for a move higher, I think, in the short term. We may bounce a little bit we might bounce sideways first and then move. That's kind of my best estimate on the short term. Baltic's just been moving sideways, and I think eventually this will head higher with time, though. It's going to take some time. I don't think it's going to be a short-term killer yet. I think there's still some selling pressure to get worked out of it in some of the companies, but I think eventually it will turn itself around and head higher. But that's what I've got for today, guys. If you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Subscribe to the website if you want to. Platinum membership's the one I would choose. Got a lot of really good content on there and financial education type things. And that's really all I have today. So hopefully you guys had a fun day today. If you're in uranium and oil, yeah, a lot of big numbers today. Let's hope that momentum can continue. And to me, it looks like it's in a pretty good situation where it could continue. So fingers crossed. Let's hope it continues. And we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.